Krsna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda.
Hare Krishna, welcome. We're here again. Bhagavad-gita, here it is, because we're reading Bhagavad-gita as it is. And it is translated and commented by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and my name is Labanga Latika. We are reading the 5th chapter. We're actually coming up to the very end of the 5th chapter, which is interesting, because then we will start another chapter. But for now, I am starting on text 24. Yonta sukhon tararamas tathantar jyotirevayaha sayogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhuto dhigachati. One whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme. Purport. Unless one is able to relish happiness from within, how can one retire from the external engagements meant for deriving superficial happiness? A liberated person enjoys happiness by factual experience. He can, therefore, sit silently at any place and enjoy the activities of life from within. Such a liberated person no longer desires external material happiness. This state is called Brahmabhuta, attaining which one is assured of going back to Godhead, back to home. Yes. So the point with these verses is that they are describing an attainable reality. It is not that we, of course, we do that too. We very much admire someone who has achieved such a stage of self-realization, of liberation, and we, want to hear from them and want to see, how they are leading the path. But the point is, they are leading the path. They are not something we put on a pedestal and just admire from the distance, but this is actually it's possible to achieve this level. So that's why we're starting from the 2nd chapter of hearing how we are not this body, we are the soul within the body. And that soul, us, is that conscious living entity, spiritual in nature, eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. And that is us. And because this sounds a little different from the us we meet in the mirror every morning when we have to, hurry up, and maybe we didn't sleep enough, and maybe it's raining outside. I'm thinking, okay, eternal, Satchitananda, full of bliss. It's actually us. Problem is, we're in this world, we've been connected to this world for a long time, identifying this world for a long time, and acting as if we are of this world. And this verse describes such a realized person, but it also shows us what we can be. This is for us. We are able to come to that place where the happiness is within. That means I'm the soul in the body, and inside myself there is the capacity for great happiness, for great satisfaction. Problem comes up when we identify with this material body, when we put our aim outwards, when we try to connect our senses to the sense object, and it creates all sorts of disturbances. We can see it in this world. We can see there is so much, especially in this age. Kali Yuga is the age of quarrel and hypocrisy, and we can see that every day. We turn on the news, we can see the age of quarrel and hypocrisy every day. But ultimately, that is not us. So we are not just telling people that, okay, the Bhagavad-gita says we should just be within and disconnect from the external world. This is not a form of escaping. This is a form of coming back to our actual real position, where we can appreciate reality for what it is. Reality isn't just... there is a, genre of movies or even books that is called, in Swedish, diskbänksrealism, where your realism is based, in front of the kitchen where you wash the plates, and it's a little grey, it's a little boring, and it's not very glamorous, and it's not very, it doesn't create a bubble of illusion. And that's true. We don't want to be in the illusion of this world, But we also don't want to limit ourselves to the scope of this material body, because the soul is so much more, and the soul is us. So that realization, that position, is available to us when we want it. And just there's so many other things that are available to us when we want them. If we want to have a certain education, or we want... I'm drawing a blank here, but we want to go for a walk in the forest, or we want to have a cup of ginger tea for our throat. That desire manifests in activity. We do something about it. We go to school, or we walk out into the nature, or we make a cup of tea, or if we're very lucky, somebody makes it for us. So in the same way, when we want to realize that consciousness of the fully liberated soul, we don't just sit down and think, oh, I would want that. No more suffering. Sounds good to me. But we understand what is the process. So that's also a lot of the Bhagavad-gita is process. It's practical. It's we identify the goal. We identify the stumbling blocks, the challenges. We identify the practical path, the steps to take. But it's not just rituals, or it's not just aiming. It's reality. We have to come back and understand this is the actual reality. So that liberated person enjoys happiness by factual experience. He can therefore sit silently at any place and enjoy the activities from within. So this is not an impersonal thing. The sitting still means we are not acting out in this world. We're not aiming for the objects of the senses, but the within is not a negation of the without. The within means the scope of the soul, and the soul belongs in the spiritual world. The soul is connected to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Some verses we read later in the Bhagavatam speaks about the space, I think, the sky of the heart. The soul is situated in the heart, and the heart is not just a little muscle somewhere pumping blood in the dark. The heart is the seat of consciousness, and there Krishna comes in the form of Paramatma, of Super Soul, and with him everything comes. So actually within the heart we have access to everything, but we don't know how to look within the heart. And we are also not, we will find that in the next chapter, Krishna is not exactly recommending that process of jhana yoga, of meditation within. He is recommended Bhakti Yoga, Krishna consciousness, which sometimes looks a little simplistic. We get up in the morning, we bow our head in the temple, we meditate on mantras, we sing songs of praise and worship, we perform rituals in the temple. But it's not, even that is not a question of the external, it's a question of engaging in those eternal activities of the soul, of love for God. So I guess I've said it. I made my point here. What we want to find is the reality. We don't just want to look at someone else. We especially don't want to look down on ourselves or somebody who is not already on the perfect platform. Because, if we were already on the perfect platform, we wouldn't need to sit here and read Bhagavad-gita together. But we're not perfect, but we have the capacity for spiritual perfection, for spiritual realization. And this is not something from an old book or about somebody far away in an old time in an other place. This is for everybody. This is accessible for all of us. I wanted to read one more text, 25. Labhante brahma nirvanam rishaya kshina kalmasaha chinnadvaidhayathatmana sarvabhuta hiterataha. Those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme. Yes, so here we often get that, I shouldn't say accusation, but misunderstanding maybe, that we become so absorbed in our self-realization that we become selfish and we don't care about others. But actually, in order to do good to others, we have to have something to offer them. If you want to help poor people and you have nothing, if you want to help hungry people and you have no food, if you want to help sick people and you have no medical education or what you call it, medicines and all that. You can't do so much to help. So if we want to help people who are suffering, which includes everyone in the material world, we have to have something to offer. So we actually have to have Krishna consciousness ourselves in order to give it. But when we have that to give, it's the greatest gift. Only a person, purport, who is fully in Krishna consciousness can be said to be engaged in welfare work for all living entities. When a person is actually in the knowledge that Krishna is the fountainhead of everything, then when he acts in that spirit, he acts for everyone. The sufferings of humanity are due to forgetfulness of Krishna as the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, and the supreme friend. Yes, we will come. This will be the last verse in the chapter, but Prabhupada, he's always a step ahead. We don't just get the exact verse. We get a whole scope of Krishna consciousness. So when we look at this world, we see many things, many miraculous, fantastic things, but also we cannot turn our eyes away from the fact that there is suffering. There is the basic sufferings, birth, death, old age, and disease, that we cannot avoid. And when we try to avoid it, sometimes we create even more problems. There used to be a problem when you were growing food that the insects would come and finish your crops and you'd have nothing to eat. And then they found this fantastic thing. You just spray a little bit of that, all the insects fall over and die, and your food is left alone, and that's so good. Yes, that was DDT, and it wasn't so good because those bugs, they carried that poison to the next, whoever ate them, and it turned out that the last species in the chain, the eagles, they got the concentration of this poison and they almost died out because they became infertile. And then people realized that this is not very good, we will forbid it and we will not use it anymore. So very many of the solutions to problem in this world, they look like a step forward, but actually they create another problem. So the real solution is to give everybody access to that full spiritually realized position in the spiritual world, where there is no birth, death, old age, and or disease, where we are fully situated in our spiritual nature as persons. But in order to give that, we have to have it. And in order to have it, we have to understand it and practice it. So that is the basis here. We understand Krishna. We're not speaking about a theoretical, utopian, philosophical spiritual idea. We're speaking about something practical. We're speaking about getting to know Krishna as that person, supreme enjoyer, supreme proprietor, and the supreme friend. So when we know that, when we actually know that Krishna is the proprietor, he owns everything, we never need to be afraid of lacking anything, because Krishna will share with us. And when we know that he's the supreme friend, see, if he has everything, but he's not very friendly to us, but he's very friendly to us, and he's a supreme enjoyer. So that's our relationship with Krishna. We are engaged in his service, and that is our ultimate, original relationship. And in that relationship, the other problems, they don't exist. They just come up when we try to put ourselves in that position in this world, which is an artificial position, where we try to usurp Krishna's position in this world. Then it becomes very troublesome, because we have to get whatever we need or want through our own struggles. It's just like if you have a little child in the home and they have no problems. They get food, they get to sleep, they get friends, they get to play, and everything is there. And then sometimes they run away. I think most children want to do that. They want to run away. So they run out of the garden and they go out somewhere in the forest. And then they sit there and it gets dark and it gets cold and it's not fun anymore. And they're thinking, oh, I can live from berries and I can sleep under a tree. But those berries are not very fulfilling, and it's a lot of trouble getting enough of them. So they come home again. Mostly they come home. And that's the same with us. We try to be in this world and be independent of Krishna for some reason. And then we come here, and then over millions of lifetimes, we realize the limits of our ability to be satisfied in this material world. And then we come back to Krishna, and then there are no problems, because we're always welcome, and there is everything we need. And we have that relationship of serving Krishna in love. And when we have that, we can be fully peaceful and satisfied within, and we can give the best welfare service to humanity and actually to the whole world. Therefore, to act to revive this consciousness within the entire human society, to revive this consciousness within the entire human society is the highest welfare work. One cannot be engaged in such first-class welfare work without being liberated in the Supreme. A Krishna-conscious person has no doubt about the supremacy of Krishna. He has no doubt because he's completely freed from all sins. This is the stage of divine love. Yes, so it's not just a theory, it's that potential of the soul to have divine love for Krishna, freed from all the reactions, everything in this world that we bring with us from life to life. We don't have to. Actually, a person engaged only in ministering to the physical welfare of human society cannot factually help anyone. Temporary relief of the external body and the mind is not satisfactory. The real cause of one's difficulties is in the hard struggle for life may be found in one's forgetfulness of his relationship with the Supreme Lord. When a man is fully conscious of his relationship with Krishna, he is actually a liberated soul, although he may be in the material tabernacle. I'm not sure of the pronunciation there, but we say that my body is my temple, because the soul is within and the super soul is within. And what we want to do with this process of Krishna consciousness is to move from the place where we have some desires for spiritual realization, where we have some theoretical knowledge, to the stage where this becomes realized knowledge, because that is our eternal right to come to that realization. So that's why we read Bhagavad-gita. Of course, we read it for so many reasons. We like to hear about Krishna. We like to hear all of those things. But we also want to have a process that we can apply in our lives. And we want to have that understanding that removes the doubts and the ignorance from our heart, so that we can approach Krishna in that original spiritual consciousness and share it with everybody as far as possible. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.